Welcome to the SARE Ladies podcast, the sister brand of Subtle Asian Real Estate, where our mission is to get more people that look like us participating in the real estate industry. We invite experts to not just talk about real estate, but also about our unique identity as Asian women and the cultural values that shape who we are as investors. I'm Anita Wong.
And I'm Tiffany Lee. We're both real estate agents and investors based in the Bay Area and New York City. Whether you're a seasoned real estate pro or just starting out, there's something for everyone here. So pour yourself a glass of wine or boba tea and join us as we celebrate the achievements and unleash the untapped potential of AAPI women in the real estate industry.
Welcome to the SARE Ladies podcast.
Now let's get on with the show. But first, a word from one of our fabulous sponsors. Ryan Cha is a pharmacist turned real estate investor who was able to quit his job at the age of 31 by consistently investing in real estate. Ryan was inspired to get into real estate investing by his grandpa, who bought a couple of properties in the San Francisco Bay Area back in the 50s. Over time, the rent there skyrocketed, and his grandpa was able to retire early. Not only that, but he was able to cover part of Ryan's college tuition and his brother's as well. This was a living example for Ryan of how real estate investing is one of the fastest ways to create generational wealth. Ryan bought his first deal in 2016, but because he didn't do due diligence, it actually cost him over $40,000 in repairs and improvements. However, he persevered, and 7 years later, he built up a multiple six-figure portfolio with 13 single-family houses on the side of his full-time job. In the process, Ryan has been featured on websites like BiggerPockets and Business Insider. And today, he helps others as a real estate investing coach. He uses a unique step-by-step real estate investment strategy, which has helped over 45 clients build their own rental portfolios to achieve financial freedom. Now on to the show.
Welcome to another episode of the SARE Ladies podcast. We're so excited to be talking with Amanda Brown today, Director of Commercial Real Estate Investment from MAG Capital. Hi, Amanda. We are so excited to have you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and if you are, Amanda is going to be at SARECon this year, and we are just so excited to have her because we're going to be talking about basically one of the most bulletproof investments that you can potentially make. And so she's here to talk about this, about why you need to be investing in this. And of course, if you want the full presentation, you're going to have to come to SARECon, right, Tiff?
Yep. But before we get into that, this is the little teaser episode leading up to SARECon. So I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about MAG Capital and what they're all about. So founded in 2015, MAG Capital Partners, LLC. Amanda, can I call them MAGCAP? Is that a cool name or they're not into the, or just MAGCP? Because I've been calling them MAGCAP while we're writing it. All right, it'll be memorable. MAGCAP at SARECon this year. Be there, guys. So founded in 2015, MAG Capital Partners, LLC is a commercial real estate investment firm focused on single-tenant, net-leased industrial properties throughout the domestic United States. Specializing in value-add development and sale-leaseback structures, MAGCAP, MAGCP, is also vertically integrated, including in-house tenant credit risk evaluation, construction and facilities management, capital markets, and accounting teams to support full-cycle investment strategies. Amanda Brown, Director of Investor Relations, joined MAGCAP. Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm going to roll that. Amanda Brown, it's a mouthful. Amanda Brown, Director of Investor Relations, joined MAG Capital Partners in 2022. So welcome, Amanda. Thank you for sitting us with here today. It's great to have you.
Thank you again. No, I'm excited.
Okay, so Amanda, you went from working in education to luxury residential real estate. The three of us are Compass. Amanda's an alum now, but Anita and I are still in the Compass stomping grounds. So Amanda, you went from education to luxury residential real estate to MAG Capital. What was your aha moment at each career pivot?
Yeah, so I actually started my career in journalism a long time ago outside of college or after college. And then transitioned into education. And I think that's kind of where I come from in everything that I do is kind of from an education and development and growth mindset. So yeah, I transitioned from education to real estate. I wanted something that was, a little bit more home-based. I started working actually through education with Macmillan Publishing, and I was traveling all across the United States, in Canada, to all of the 2 and 4 year schools in the country. And it was a great education for myself, and talking to so many people and learning about amazing topics, and speaking to amazingly smart people. But I, didn't want to travel anymore. I wanted to be home a little bit more for my kids. I have 2 kids. And so real estate was kind of that logical transition. I love residential real estate. I do. I'm still in it. I still do real estate on the side. I was with Compass. I love Compass as a company. As you know, it's a fantastic company. I was working with Brandon Hobbs in Newport Beach. He's now with Reason Realty. And they were an amazingly supportive group, and I found a really great home there. But I have known Dax Mitchell, who is one of the principals of MAG, the other being Andrew G. But I've known Dax since I was 23, and we've had a lot of conversations about, real estate throughout the years. And he, asked me and wanted me to do real estate underneath him, which I am now, and kind of transition into commercial real estate and learn more about commercial real estate. And again, being kind of from that education, standpoint, it's so interesting, truly. Commercial real estate is a lot the same, but just so much different than residential, obviously. But there was so many different things for me to learn, and different asset classes. And it's been not only an amazing education, but just an amazing journey. To be part of MAG Capital Partners. The group itself is just incredible, and that was really what attracted me. We have $678 million in assets under management right now, which is pretty huge for a group that's been around since 2015. We have $234 million in full cycle investments. We have 71 currently held properties and 44 exits. So, as a team, as a group, I love not only the people at MAG, but just the trajectory and the growth that we're looking at. And I love industrial, honestly. I knew nothing about industrial prior, and industrial as an asset class, which we'll go into, is so incredibly interesting.
Amazing. So that's actually a great segue to our next question. It's why industrial, I sound like Zoolander. Why industrial properties? Why male models? Why industrial properties? What are the key investment benefits, and how are they bulletproof?
Yeah, so with industrial, we focus on the single tenant net lease. And I'll go into the triple net in a bit, but we see industrial as a consistently performing asset class over the last 10 years, and kind of in the future as well. Like right now, currently there's 406,000 new jobs and domestic sites across in 2023. And then the government has pledged $1 trillion into federal spending and tax breaks and other incentives to build products here in the United States. So I think that's only going to increase the demand for industrial and increase the demand for manufacturing in the United States, which is incredible for not only us, but for investors to really learn about industrial as an asset class for those reasons. But we ourselves, we have strong manufacturing tenants. They have low default rates. The e-commerce growth is huge. Reshoring right now is leading to industrial being an amazing asset class. We have supply chain diversification, a need for people to have logistics that, last minute logistics, high demand, low supply of existing inventory and desired markets. So just in general, I think, obviously post COVID, we realized the need to bring more goods closer. And that really is helping the demand of industrial. Industrial is booming. If you look at any numbers right now, industrial is outperforming a lot of different asset classes for sure.
And we're going off script a little bit, but what are some of the asset classes in industrial that maybe you in particular enjoy working in, and why?
That in industrial, or?
Yes. Yeah, in industrial.
Yeah, so industrial as an asset class. So there's different ways you can look at industrial, and what we're looking at is single tenants. So we're looking at a tenant who is in the building where they have created their business, right? There's also multi-tenant, which we're not doing ourselves, but also, interesting as well. And probably maybe a little bit closer to an active real estate, opportunity if you're looking at an asset class. But we're not necessarily also looking at empty industrial parks. So we're not trying to fill empty spaces, which some people are, right? That's an opportunity as well as to, buy an industrial park or look at the different cap rates for Amazons, right? It's just so different. But I think what's most interesting about what we do in particular with a single tenant is really understanding what these businesses do. And I think that is itself, such an amazing education, but also just really cool to understand industry here in the United States and how these businesses have grown and again, what they do. We have aerospace, we have, cold storage, we have, a manufacturing, we have steel company. Like it's just, there's so many different businesses that are hugely, wildly successful, doing something that you don't even really know a whole lot about or don't realize when you look on the side of the road and you see like, these buildings, these, manufacturing buildings, these nondescript kind of buildings, and then really getting into them and understanding what exactly is inside there and what they do and how their businesses are formed and again, how successful they are. It's pretty incredible.
And that seems to jive so well with your personality that you mentioned early on, where you have this hunger for learning new things all the time. So it's almost like every new project is a new business line that you get to like really dig deep and immerse yourself in. So it's almost like feeding that journalism part of your brain that was like the origin point, the root all the way at the beginning. So that's really awesome. I'm like, you never know where this career is going to take you, right? Real estate, there's so many ways to slice it, but at the end, it comes down to what you keep running into yourself at the end of the day, right?
Well, that's exactly it. Yeah, I think that's what's so interesting about real estate and getting into real estate is, all the different, paths you can take. It's so incredible, and especially as people start, really learning about, active versus passive real estate, which we can get into as well.
But we won't get into it now because we got to leave some stuff for SARECon. There you go. I like that little cliffhanger there. So taking us back on track, how do lease structures in industrial real estate, such as triple net leases, provide a hedge against market volatility?
Yeah, so the triple net lease shields investors from inflationary impact on expenses is more or less what it does. And that's important to really understand and to know. But there's two different ways to look at it. There's the triple net lease, and then there's the absolute triple net lease. So the triple net lease, the tenant pays for taxes, insurance, utilities, right? They're paying for all the things that we would normally have to pay for. But the absolute triple net lease is kind of what is additionally interesting. And that's where the tenant additionally pays for building improvements, building maintenance, capital expenditure items, such as new roofs and pavement. So the fence line to fence line transfer of operational costs to the tenant. So, it's like I say, the tenant pays for everything in the building and around. It's line to line. So it's a great way for us to have a fully performing tenant from day one, but then we have no expenses when it comes down to it.
That's great. All right, Anita, take us
awesome.
away.
So I want to talk. I know that we talked about e-commerce a little bit before, and I kind of want to talk about how the evolution of e-commerce has impacted the demand for industrial property in the recent years.
Yeah, and I kind of mentioned a little bit, with COVID, we had, and I live here in Southern California. Literally, the ocean is just a couple blocks right there, and I look out, and during COVID, could see all of the ships that were just literally sitting there with all the stuff that we needed to, make and create and do and kind of, be performing like, what these businesses need to create their businesses and to grow and develop and deliver to us. I also have active real estate investments, right? I have rental properties. And so I was redoing some and couldn't get an oven, it was sitting out here forever. And so I think that really solidified in people's minds and businesses that we need to bring materials closer, right? The e-commerce is going nowhere. I buy a majority of what I purchase off Amazon, right? So does a lot of other people. It's just so easy, and it's so it's so convenient to be able to purchase online and to have it delivered. And I also support, obviously, buying local and staying local, but there's just a simplicity and ease of e-commerce that isn't going away. And so we obviously have to, be able to make that easier. And that's where kind of industrial has been able to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I think I remember I was like going to one of those malls. Like I was like, this is the first time I've been to a mall, and I think in like at least a solid 3 years. And I was like, it is dead. It is actually like scary in
Oh,
here. Yeah, and so I was
well, have
like,
you seen? Yeah,
huh?
I was watching actually recently, and there was an article or a news report that they're turning a lot of those old malls, which a lot of the anchor businesses, or even just a lot of the businesses themselves have gone up, and now they're turning them into like pickleball courts and different types of creative uses. And I think that's incredible, right? Pickleballs.
Yeah. And
Are
I
you a
mean
big
the whole stuff
pickleball
in like
person, Amanda? Are we going to play some
yeah,
pickleball in
pickleball.
California when we see
We
you?
need to play some pickleball. Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
bring my
Fun.
rackets. I will bring my racket. We'll get a pickleball game going.
I think we should. Honestly, I think SARE is right for pickleball. I think that we could create like a total, a tournament, a pickleball tournament at SARE.
Oh my
I think
God.
that
I was trying to start a pickleball league at Compass, and it
No
never
way.
took off.
What?
Amanda, you might have to come back and get the league going.
I'm actually shocked. I really am. I think I can't get away from pickleball. It's everywhere. It's in every conversation I have, I think, with most people.
People that play pickleball have pickleball fever. Like
They do.
infectious.
I know.
Yeah, it's
It is
scary.
fun. I was taking lessons every Friday with this, group of women, and it's fun, but it's definitely addictive.
Yeah, because you can take out a lot of aggression. Like I'm gonna take out all of my client aggression and be like, "Ugh," in a paddle. Yeah. Anyway, okay. I'm sorry about the pickleball divergence, but
I know,
we're gonna go back.
We digress.
Yes, we digress. So we're going to talk about back to emerging markets, right? So, are there emerging markets or regions that investors are currently eyeing for the industrial real estate, and what makes them attractive now?
So with industrial, or at least what we're doing in industrial, we're not looking at particular markets, kind of like what you would with active real estate investing, or with any other real estate. Typically with industrial, you're looking at Midwest, kind of Texas, all the way up the Midwest and over the Rust Belt, and that's typically where you're going to find a lot of industrial, just generally with the industry. But what we're looking at is secondary markets. We're looking all across the United States, everywhere. We, in our industrial fund too, which is what we have right now offered to investors, we have a crustacean processing facility in Maine. So we've purchased in Maine. We've purchased all over the United States in different markets. So what we're looking at more in particular is the actual tenant themselves. So really looking at the credit of the tenant. We have a credit team that gets really deep into, like I said, the credit of the tenant, and making sure that they're going to perform consistently over the life of the hold.
I'm just going to pause right there because I love how you called it a crustacean processing facility in Maine, but we all know you're talking about lobsters.
Lobster and lobster. It is.
Okay. Well, so I mean, I'm personally not an industrial investor, but how I imagine, the places that are basically ripe for these kinds of investing is really like places with a lot of land, right? Or that just sort of sounds like you're talking about Rust Belt, right? Lots of cheap land that is basically flat. And are there better investments perhaps in larger places where there's a lot of sort of transport, right? I'm thinking about like Las Vegas, where there's like a lot of major hubs for transportation, or is it kind of all over?
Yes. But if you look at, an investment, or you look at the cap rates, right? Cap rates in primary markets are going to be really low. which means real estate is really expensive. So what we're looking at is secondary markets. The cap rates that we're looking at are working to our advantage right now. We're looking at between 8 and 9 cap. So, secondary markets are great opportunity. You could also look at some tertiary markets, but you're going to have, a little bit more, the opportunity needs to obviously be more ideal for those kind of markets. But, we are looking at it. And obviously a lot of these secondary markets are a lot of these, industrial markets. They do have, transport as one of the key indicators. But, what we're really looking at, like I said, is the business itself, the tenant themselves. What are they doing? Why are they attractive? What is their business? What is their growth potential? And that's, majority of what we're looking at.
So, I mean, then are you sort of analyzing like their business plan? What are their 5-year, 10-year projection? I mean, I guess these tenants are going to be here for a very long time. So how far do you even look out?
Yeah, they are. So our leases are, 15 and 20 years. So we're looking at, a long-term relationship with these tenants and making sure that they're going to consistently grow. They're, reinvesting capital back into their business to grow. And that's part of the model itself, is that, we want them to continue to grow. We want them to, see more success during the life of the hold. And that's what investors want as well, right? We want to be able to exit with a, a beneficial real estate. And it's, we want to make sure also that the businesses are growing on their own, that they are successful on their own, and that they don't necessarily need the money, but they want the money to grow, right? Additionally, the business itself has to submit to us quarterly financials. So we are also staying with our financials, and we're just continuing to look at, their growth and their kind of trajectory forward.
And then what are sort of the top qualities that you're looking for in a good tenant? Like, I mean, sort of the baseline things that you look for.
I think it comes down really the credit team. I think they're looking at some real like specific numbers, EBITDA margins. They need to be in business for over 10 years. Most of these businesses really, if you look at them in industrial and especially the industrial that we're looking at, what's so interesting as well, educating yourself, but a lot of these businesses that have been in business for, let's say 30 to 50 years, right? They've weathered multiple storms. They've, seen a lot of ups and downs, and they have a niche in a larger, manufacturing market. They have, they make, maybe into aerospace, they make some small widget that is, going to be on a larger plane, and they are incredibly successful and have, the niche in the market for that thing, and that's I think what's most interesting about this as well, is seeing how long they've been in business, seeing how successful they are, and that they, are able to, I'm not going to say anything is completely recession proof, but let's say, yes, if they've been able to stick around for this long, they have a business that's thriving.
Hey, we're going to take a little break, but in the meantime, here's a shameless plug for one of our amazing sponsors. Dr. Hua Win and her husband, Dr. Jaime Gonzalez, both optometrists by trade and owners of multiple multi-million-dollar optometry practices in the Dallas area, founded Black Steel Investment Group with a passion to invest to impact. With the foundation forged on 3 pillars, integrity, community, and legacy, they put their investors at the forefront of everything they do. The couple are both seasoned, full-time multifamily investors, syndicators, and asset managers who, together with their investors, have invested in over 6,900 units as general and/or limited partners in Texas, Arizona, Florida, and the Carolinas, with total assets valued at over $480 million. Juan and Jaime are always working to find new investment opportunities for their investors. The couple enjoys traveling the world for delicious food and interesting cultures with their 8-year-old daughter Athena and have a puppy named Coco Ollie. Now on to the show.
How has commercial been COVID proof? I imagine that probably threw a wrench in a lot of long-term leases because that was an unforeseen thing. So how did you navigate that anecdotally, in broad terms?
Yeah, I think the tenants that we have maintained success. Obviously other asset classes I think got hit a little bit harder, maybe. I would say probably like, gyms had a hard time, but then when they were able to reopen, they were able to kind of come back, right? But, you know, we're able to kind of pivot ourselves and kind of, really look at and staying with the credit of the tenants. We're able to continue to, look at their long-term and kind of what's happening and be able to pivot if that needs be.
Okay. So how can an investor that does primarily residential real estate transition into industrial properties? What should they be aware of?
I think it's less of a conversation about, looking at industrial in particular, but I think it's more understanding kind of the difference between active and passive real estate, right? So active real estate, which I have a rental property in Big Bear. I am an active, real estate investor. We have a short-term rental. There's a lot of work that goes into that, right? There's a lot that needs to be done, not only to prepare the property, but to manage the property and to continue to rent it. There's a lot that needs to happen. And there's a lot of daily maintenance and upkeep and stuff. It's just a lot, right? It's very active. That's why they call it that. But I think there's an education that, a lot of people, and we go to a lot of conferences, and I talk to a lot of people also on the phone as well, who, typically will make a transition from active. They're doing, buy and hold, fix and flip. They're really wanting to start out with active because that makes sense. That's kind of what we do, right? You buy a house and that's just typically what we do with real estate, right? Then they kind of transition into multifamily. So that's kind of the next step. That's the easiest transition for them because, multifamily is kind of the next larger, active investing. You're doing the same thing, but just on a larger scale. And then as you start really kind of learning a little bit or maybe realizing, and a lot of people are saying, I don't want to be an active real estate investor anymore. I don't want to, do that much. I don't want to have that much on my plate. I want to have somebody else who is more skilled or knowledgeable about an asset class or, somebody who's actually doing something successful, like what we are. I want to look more at passive, and passive real estate investing is allowing companies like us to, do what we do best. And, what we have in our group, we're a team of 16. We have an acquisitions group. We have a credit team. We have a construction manager on staff. We are very, knowledgeable in a lot of different facets of real estate, and we're doing a lot of really great stuff for people and helping them to grow their wealth. And when you invest, when passive real estate investing, you're getting a preferred return, you're getting typically an exit split. So you have kind of the same, benefits of owning real estate. You have the depreciation, you have all those benefits. But you're not having to work that hard, right? You're trusting somebody else to do what they do best.
Yeah, I love that. And we get that all the time too, or like especially people that were like retiring, don't want to handle so many units, or just want to focus on their W-2 and they love their job and they're like, how can I find a way to do that? And so this is such a great investment for that. Can I ask you sort of what is a general entry so how much capital is a good amount for someone in residential to be transitioning into something like industrial?
Yeah, so our industrial fund 2, which is our current industrial opportunity, we have a minimum investment of 75,000. Most people are, investing more. It just depends on kind of where you are, but that's where we are. But I think I think it's really kind of determining what you need, and we give quarterly returns. But I think, what I talk to people about is kind of understanding what you need for your own personal financials. Obviously, we always say, talk to your tax advisor, talk to your CPA. We're not going to give any sort of advice at all about, how you should invest your money or, tax advice or anything else like that. But there are a lot of benefits. And we, it's a great opportunity to still be in real estate for sure.
And it has, what have been some common ways that you've seen investors come into industrial? Have they already had their own, like, sort of investment vehicles? Are they doing 1031 exchanges into it? Or is that possible to do 1031 into it or something else?
Yeah, 1031 isn't a like-kind investment, so we can't do 1031s, but, retirement accounts, you have that. We have some specific information that we can share with anybody who wants to talk a little bit further about what we particularly do, and we can share kind of more details. But we, yeah, I think it's just a transition. I think it's a journey that people, go on kind of to learn about different asset classes. And, once they kind of learn about industrial and really get into what industrial is and, how the asset class performs, then they're pretty much in. They're liking it.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, we've had Ron Rohde, who has been on our podcast before, and we talked about industrial as well. He loves it as well. So
Yeah.
I can totally see
What
that.
are the typical cap rates that people see in industrial? Like,
Yeah,
what's the
so we
basic?
were, right now with inflation, it's, debt is expensive for everybody, right? But we are seeing cap rates, between 8 and 9. It's, it's worked in our favor, the cap rates right now that we're looking at. Obviously there's still going to be cap rates that are, lower, but what we're typically purchasing is there.
Great.
Very cool.
Okay, so we're going to head into our rapid fire questions.
Yay! I love doing that.
That's new, Amanda. She's very excited about
we
it.
just debuted that button.
We just made this button, and if you're joining us, from the podcast, you got to see it now. But it's a new button. Okay, so rapid fire questions for Amanda. Okay, what is the worst real estate advice someone has given you?
I don't think it's the worst real estate advice, but I think it's the belief that, buy a rental property and it's so easy. You're going to make so much money. And it's a journey. It is a journey. There's a lot of work. There's a lot that needs to be done before you can see that ultimate, cash return. And yes, there is a lot of money in active real estate investing, and there's a lot of money in short-term rentals. But it is a lot of work. And I think what I originally thought was that I would just buy it and everything would be great and it'd be so easy. But
it was the worst of those fix and flip homes. You're like, oh, this like dilapidated house, and then like, look at this, snap.
Totally.
Like, oh no,
TV ruined it for everyone.
I know. I was like, come on, that is not how it works.
That's not what happened.
I'm like, they're not even showing anything.
Yeah, and they all look put together. I'm like, there's a team behind all of that. Okay, Joanna Gaines has had a whole fleet of people and a TV crew to put this.
It's
together.
not me like painting the cabinets and like doing all this stuff. It's like,
no, it's so much work. Okay. So who else is killing in the game, industrial? And that you're also admiring in this space?
Yeah, I think for me, it's I look at a lot of different groups. I think I'm more interested in kind of the asset classes and what asset classes are improving or performing. I obviously right now self-storage in addition to industrial is another asset class that people are really loving, and one that I love to look at the opportunities there. I just talked to somebody yesterday, who, is doing RV parks and killing it. So I think there's a lot of different asset classes that are interesting. I think oil and gas is really interesting. The funds that they have, numbers seem almost too good to be true. So that's obviously something you need to be aware of. But, I think there's different asset classes that are so interesting. And I think that's also kind of the journey that people have to go on, is kind of learning about the different asset classes. And that's a lot of, what we're doing is educating and teaching people about industrial. But there's a lot of other different asset classes that I think are really super interesting and unique and performing well.
Is there someone that is kind of performing well in those asset classes that you're like, oh, check them out? Maybe not.
Nobody that I can think of.
Okay, that's totally fine. Okay, so name a book that significantly changed your real estate career.
Yeah. So when I first started with MAG, our principals told me to read a couple books, educate yourself, right? Learn, read, do all that stuff. So I continue to read. I read all the time. I'm constantly reading real estate investing books. But the best ever real estate investing advice ever by Joe Fairless was one that they told me to read. The Hands-Off Investor by Brian Burke is another one that they told me to read. I went a little bit further, and I got a lot of tax strategies for savvy real estate investors. There's a lot of really great information in there. But we went to the Bigger Pockets conference this past year, and they have so many different books, right? And I think I bought pretty much every single one of them and read them all. But there's some really interesting books. Unfortunately, not a whole lot about industrial specifically. So that is something that is not going to be in a book for people, but definitely something we can, discuss.
Amanda, maybe you should write that industrial book with your journal as a
Look out. Amanda Brown's new industrial book.
Look at these ideas. We always get ideas on these podcasts. Guys, you can buy Amanda's book on, no, I'm kidding.
I'll come back around. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we'll come back. So what is one habit you have in your daily routine that fundamentally changed who you are as an investor?
I think is honestly, and like I said, I come from an education background. So I think it's just educating myself, talking to people, asking questions, really, really digging into, books. I read constantly, and there isn't anything that I, probably haven't read at this point in time that's about real estate investing. And I think it's education, it's knowledge. Knowledge is key. That's going to be the only thing that really helps you to determine. Also, but I think there's a certain element that we all know, that you overthink, right? You overanalyze. Analysis paralysis. Yeah. So I think there just needs to be a point where you kind of jump into it and you start experiencing, passive real estate investing yourself, and just do it at some point in time. Just has to be done. But there is a lot of really great, interesting information out there, and people that are doing things. And I think it's really important to talk to people who are investing and see kind of, what their experiences are and who they like and who they trust.
So are you a morning reader or evening reader, or like a lunchtime, or all of the above?
You know what? I am an evening reader. I read at night before I go to bed, but I need to start reading more in the morning, in the afternoon, because sometimes I'm like out. My husband walks in, I'm like, got the book still there. And
do you have like a little reading nook, or you have like, you like to read before bed kind of situation?
I'm more of a read before bed kind of person, but now that it's gotten sunny outside, I'm gonna sit outside, go on the beach, and read more this summer.
Yes. So what's one advice you would tell women getting into commercial real estate investments?
So the women real estate investing space is actually the area that I am most interested in, honestly. And, I have been fortunate enough to be connected with some really amazing women real estate investing groups. I just actually was on a podcast with REN, the Women Real Estate Network, through Deborah Razzo, and she has a women's real estate group. We went to Invest Her conference this last month. That was incredibly inspiring to see women real estate investors that are incredibly successful. I think women are, as a group, obviously we are conversational, and we share and we talk, and, we educate and support. And I think that is what, a lot of these groups, such as your SARE ladies, right? There's a lot of other different groups that I've come across, but, at the Invest Her, which I saw some SARE people that I met last year there at the Invest Her conference. My room was right outside of where the pool and the hot tub was. And I woke up early one morning to get ready for the conference, and there was already a group of ladies in the hot tub, talking and networking. And it was very inspiring to see women who are so supportive and wanting to lift each other up and educate. And, I saw your SARE ladies, you guys had last year, your panel discussion, I saw that, and I love the stories that were shared, right? Like they resonated. There was amazing stories that were very heartfelt and reasons that people got into investing. And I think, women supporting each other and growing, I can only see these groups grow more, honestly. It's incredible.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. So last question. What is one skill every investor should learn?
Honestly, I think it's like I said, I'll continue on with the education. I think it's being open and researching. I don't think that active real estate investing is the only way to go in real estate investing. And I think there's so many different asset classes that are, cash flowing and interesting. And, I think people just need to be open to different opportunities and different ways to look at real estate, because really, like we said at the very beginning, I'll kind of come full circle. There's so many opportunities in real estate that, just have to kind of be open to learning.
Amazing. So that concludes our talk. Thank you so much, Amanda, for joining us. If you want to hear more about what she has to say, you can catch her at SARECon this year, where she'll be expanding on the benefits of industrial real estate. By the way, she'll also be signing copies of her book on industrial real estate investing.
Just kidding.
which doesn't exist yet. So Amanda, you better get to writing, whip out that journalism hat and get to writing that book, just because I plugged it. I'm kidding. All right. So Amanda, if our listeners want to find you, how can they best do that?
So you can go to www.magcp.com and you can meet not only me, but everybody that is in our group. My email address is amanda@magcp.com. And I'm happy to speak at any point in time about what we are, what we do, the investments that we offer. I'm happy to talk.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, see you next time, guys.
Attention, all trailblazing women. Are you ready to level up your leadership game and make a lasting impact? Since the recording of our podcast with the fabulous Michelle Ngo here on SARE Ladies, we have officially released the date of our Women's Leadership Summit, happening July 27th to the 28th this year in Costa Mesa, California, in conjunction with SARECon.
Join us for an empowering event packed with inspiring speakers and interactive workshops designed to supercharge your soft skills and prepare you for your upcoming real estate events. You'll connect with like-minded women from around the country, sharing stories, experiences, and strategies to shatter the bamboo ceiling and change the world together.
We've got an incredible lineup of speakers, including trailblazers like Christine Chow of Texas Urban Realty, Gina Shin of Fractional and Shin Equity Partners, Jenny Locke of Zen Coast Homes, and many more amazing women who are going to share their personal journeys and challenges to teach you the techniques they learned to be successful in the world of real estate. Plus, you'll have the opportunity to join smaller breakout sessions where you can learn practical skills and strategies to level up your own life and career. So, are you ready to ignite your inner fire and unleash your full potential? The Women's Leadership Summit 2023 is the event for you. To get tickets, click on our show notes linking to the Eventbrite. Hurry up, tickets sell out fast.
See you there, ladies.
Thank you for tuning in to the SARE Ladies podcast hosted by Anita Wong and Tiffany Lee. Special thanks to Subtle Asian Real Estate, LLC, our parent company.
If you enjoyed our show, please leave us a review or follow SARE Ladies on Spotify and Instagram @Subtle Real Estate. You can also click on our show notes to subscribe to our newsletters to stay on top of our news and upcoming events. Until next time, Pod Squatters.